Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing all right. It's Connor here. We're back in the car. We're not in the studio, unfortunately, today. Yes, I have come home to visit family. I wasn't able to watch the game last night, but I watched the full 90 back this morning. Guys, I think it's time, I really do, for Jesse to move on. I don't see this getting any better. I think it's Titanic settings. It's Leeds heading for an iceberg and sinking lower and lower and lower, to be honest with you. I called out Marcelo Bielsa in around about November. Obviously, he was sacked in the February and said, look, his position, he's going to take Leeds United down. I thoroughly believe that. Now, Jesse Marsch is going to take this Leeds United side down, in my opinion. Got called deluded not long ago for essentially saying that 2 wins in 15 or whatever it was at the time was not good enough. That is not good enough. It's a sackable offence. It'd be sackable in any division, any domestic league, any domestic competition. However, some people are really giving him credit. Now, I don't understand where the credit is with Jesse Marsch. I really don't. This youngster thing, I don't know why we get. I've seen several times that that apparently we should be trusting the process. I don't know what process this is. I think maybe people are just delving a little bit too much into the Arsenal Arteta stuff from my side of it. We're not in the same position as Arsenal and Arteta, because the likelihood is, if this continues, Leeds United are going to be in the bottom 3 and consequently relegated from the Premier League. That is not a process that I want to be involved in. I want to stay in the Premier League. It took long enough for us to get here, and I cannot get my head around some fans who just seem to think that whatever happens, they want to be involved in a process. We can lose to Brentford, we can lose to Forest, as long as the performances are okay. It doesn't matter about the results. Well, unfortunately, quantitatively, numerically, where you are in the division is a big issue. It's a big issue. Now, Jesse Marsch yesterday came out after a good performance at Aston Villa, one of the better ones of the season, even though we still lost the game, and said that if performances continue like that, he doesn't mind a few losses. Well, Jesse, unfortunately, when in your next 5 games you have Everton and you have the likes of Brentford coming up, you need to win those games. Those games at the start of the season, where we had an incredible calendar, an incredible start to the season, and we didn't win enough of those games, and we find ourselves in this position because of those games. That is a problem, because you need to be beating teams in and around you. The problem is with this Leeds United side at the minute, the problem is with the tactic that we have going on at the minute, the same things repeat themselves, don't they? Continuously. Leeds concede 2 goals. 2 goals, we're above 2 goals on average now every single game. That's not developed from last season. Leeds is numerical value in the league. Like I say, 14th in the division or 15th, whatever it is. We could be in the bottom 3 by the end of today. By the end of this week, there is a serious likelihood Leeds are going to be in the bottom 3. That is not an improvement with the amount of money we've spent. We can talk about player quality. We can talk about the defence being poor. We can talk about individual errors. At the end of the day, the team has improved from last season. 100%. We all know that. So we're not talking top 8 here. We're not talking top 6. We're talking about just a little bit of an improvement in the league standings. But that hasn't happened. Leeds are absolutely, unequivocally in a relegation battle again, which our owner said was impossible. That was not going to happen again. It is impossible. Quote Andrea Radrizzani. We are in the position that we are in right now. We're looking at Rutter. Still don't know why that's not happened, by the way. Onahi, the Moroccan midfielder, 2 of which will be 2 very, very decent additions. But do not kid yourself and think these players can only play under Jesse Marsch. These can only play in this process. No, they'll be able to play more expansively. They'll be able to play in a system which utilizes different pressing tactics, different strategies. These are football players. They're not robots. They can play in different systems, 100%. Leeds need to add quality, of course they do. But when they need to add quality on the pitch, they also need to add quality off the pitch in terms of the manager. Unfortunately, everybody, you can't sack 5 or 6 defenders. Do I think the standard of Leeds United's defence is good enough? I don't. But has there been worse defences in the Premier League that have conceded less goals? 100%. Why? Because they're set up to do so. Do you go to a back 5 because you can't defend? Who knows? Managers have done it before. We've seen Southgate do it for England. A back 3 where you've got another defender in there to you almost compensate for the deficiencies at the back. I'm not a manager. I'm not going to tell you the formations that Jesse should be deploying or what another manager should be deploying. What I'm here to say is winning 2 games in 17 in the Premier League when there are 38 games in a Premier League season, just to contextualize it, is shocking. It is shocking. And for the manager to come out last night and say, listen, the performance was good, which he's right, I completely agree with. But to say he'd be okay with more losses if there are more performances like that is just nuts to me. And I wonder what the players are thinking about that as well. That's what you've got to ask yourself. I don't understand the credit in the bank, as I've mentioned several times, that Jesse Marsch has from certain fans. I don't understand it. It seems to be a lot now on player quality, which seems to be swinging. We seem to be swinging that way in terms of a fan base, which I understand. However, as I keep saying, with the investment in this team in the summer, we should be doing much better than we're doing at the minute. And that's the bottom line. So he is failing at his objectives, which were clearly set by the board. It was impossible, remember, to be in a relegation battle. We are in a relegation battle. We could be in the bottom three by the end of the weekend. We could be easily in the bottom three by the end of this week. Unfortunately, everybody, it's cold, hard facts. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I really am. I'm trying to look at the results. I'm trying to look at things improving. The performance last night was better, but we're conceding the same goals all the time in transition, in counter-attacks. We conceded 2 goals against the Cardiff City side, who won 0 games out of 4 and were terrible. They're the lowest scorers in the Championship, scored 2 goals in 30 minutes against us. Pounced on our errors again. Pounced on the systematic deficiencies. 2 goals against a dire West Ham side, who lost 5 on the bounce. 2 goals conceded against Aston Villa last night, who really were in first gear. And that's not to say Aston Villa can ramp it up, because they can't, because the quality of the side isn't that great, really. But they were poor last night, and they still scored 2 goals against us. They still were able to carve through us, even if the Leeds United side were better than that Aston Villa side last night, which they were. We still lost the game. I'm not going to turn around at the end of the season if Leeds were in the bottom 3 and say, well, do you know what, though? We were decent against Aston Villa. We should have won that game. The performance was good. Because we'll be heading down to the Championship, so it doesn't make sense. Now, I understand what Jesse's saying in terms of forsaking results for performances, in terms of in the long term, if we perform like that, it's going to get better. But it's the wrong thing to say right now. It's the wrong thing to say right now. It's another L on his card. We keep hearing about intensity. We keep hearing about the players not really taking on his methods fully. We keep hearing about him trying to do certain things that the players aren't taking on board. And I honestly think that is what fans are hearing. It's very good from Marsch. It is very good. Fans are hearing that and they're thinking, well, it must be the players then. Jesse's doing everything he can. He's showing the passion on the sidelines. He's saying that they're scared. He's coming out in press conferences and being transparent with the fans. So fans are then thinking to themselves, do you know what? It must just all be the players not taking it on board then. It must be football IQ. It must be the players' capabilities. Now, for one, I am not saying that this defence is good enough. I am not. But what I am saying is the manager isn't good enough either. He is not going to turn this round from my perspective. I don't think there's going to be a likelihood that we concede. You know, if we get a clean sheet against Brentford, it'll be a minor miracle. It really will. It'll be a minor miracle. But you've got to set up a side to be able to defend in the Premier League. This is a manager who was saying the defence was good enough at the start of the season, saying he had sufficient backup. He was always talking about a striker. He's always saying that in the background. That would help the side defence. He's more than happy with. Compliments Liam Cooper all the time. Says Pascal Strauch is a fantastic player. Really rates Robin Koch. Thinks Verb is a fantastic signing. And I think this is a genuine belief from Jesse Marsch. So you've got to set up the side to be better. You've got to set up the side to be less susceptible when it comes to transitions, counter-attacks. The press has got to be better. It's got to be more effective. If the press isn't effective, switch it up. At the minute, I've got a bad feeling about this. A real bad feeling about this. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I do really hope I'm wrong, but I just do not see how he turns this round. The goals we're conceding, another 2 last night. Above average, a ridiculous amount of goals being conceded at the minute, and it's not changing. Leeds, once again, last night, having to score 3 goals to win the game. Having to score 3 goals to win the game against Cardiff. Having to score 3 goals to win the game against West Ham. Having to score 5 goals after winning, being in the league 3 separate times against Tottenham. You know, it's not sustainable, everybody. It is not sustainable. It's too much pressure on the offensive players. And this team have developed. This team has had investment. I'm not saying wholly it's a cracking side, because it's not, but there are holes in every Premier League side. There's problems in every Premier League side. And as I said at the start, there has been worse Premier League defences who've conceded less goals than this. And for me, I think it's the end of the road for Jesse Marsch. That's my thoughts, everybody. presumably, especially after the last video, there are going to be a lot of people who hate on this and disagree. I just cannot get my head round winning 2 games in 17 and it being delusional for me to come on here and say there needs to be a change. I don't know when it's going to be for some Leeds fans. Maybe it is going to be when we are in the bottom 3. Maybe it is going to be if we lose to Brentford and then we are, and there's going to be, a better performance from Brentford than Leeds United, and it's a comprehensive loss. Listen, I don't want to come on here and talk like this. It's great that we're looking at new signings. Of course it is. But this just can't go on, everybody. How long can this go on for? Do we lose against Brentford and it's fine? Do we draw against Forest and it's fine? Where are the wins coming from? Where are the wins coming from? It's not against the West Ham United side who would bang out of form. It's not been against the likes of Fulham this season, even though I know they're doing very well at Ellen Road. You should be expecting something there. It's not against Aston Villa. Who are we looking at here? Who are we looking at? It's very, very concerning at the minute. Performance much better, but I mean, if you're giving him a little bit of leeway, it's Brentford and that's it. It can't be more than that. We can't lose that Brentford game and just continue in this vein of form. If Onahi's looking at Leeds right now, if at the end of this weekend he sees Leeds in the relegation zone, even Rutter, what are they going to be thinking? Loads to think about, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section.